Hello there. It is 7 o'clock p.m. on the dot on Sunday, March 1st, 2026, and I have just made it to the Okie Mountain OHV trails. I guess I should say welcome to the glitch. This is Walden 11, entry 0. This has been quite a day, and by the way, long time no talk. It's been a good time since I stopped recording. I've been enjoying time with my parents. Hey, shout out to my parents. And for that matter, shout out to all of the wonderfully nice people at the Rabun Gap Presbyterian Church who wished me well and added me to their prayer lists earlier this morning when the preacher mentioned that I am off on a new adventure, which is kind of where I'm at right now. And boy, y'all, I got my money's worth today. In fact, I haven't even stopped my Strava yet. So let's take a look at what we're actually dealing with. 19.8 miles. Yeah, man. Certainly felt all of those for sure. I would say in general, let me go ahead and just put a little, what would you call this? Placeholder text. Oops. Sorry, y'all. A little bit of housekeeping. This is classic. Phew. Okay. Anyway, yes. So, yeah, Walden 11. I was very struck by the fact that a lot of the transcripts that I continue to put into Notebook LM would, I guess, mention that there were some Walden, as in, Henry David Thoreau's Walden elements to some of the things that I was doing, but then that there was also this technical element because I enjoy technology. And so I liked the idea. Maybe I even already mentioned this. I feel like I did back on the bike ride. But unless it becomes too contrived or makes me feel like I'm conceited, I've decided to call what is about to be going on in my life Walden 11, which as I say it out loud, I'm just like, a little cringy. This seems, contrived. Man, I just had the thought of how bad it would be if it was raining right now. But anyway, it's not, so let's celebrate that. Walden 11 is the third installment of the Walden series. The first one was written by Henry David Thoreau. The second one was written by B.F. Skinner. And that was sort of some sort of a futuristic utopian novel. In the description that I heard about it, it sounded not so dissimilar from like Brave New World or something like that, or in that kind of a vein. And then now this is Walden 11, and 11 is actually binary for 3, and I just thought that was kind of cool. So Walden 11, pronounced 11 but interpreted as 3, because this is also my third time on the Appalachian Trail, which kind of brings me to where I am now. I'm not actually there yet, but I had a grand vision for the way that I wanted to return to my parents' house after the bike ride. And I had to compromise in order to get back there kind of at all, just because, I was running out of money and running out of steam, too. I just felt, if you recall, just this gnawing sense that, like, the stakes were too high for the trip to continue in the same way that it was. I felt like being on the interstate for another 1,000+ miles through Texas and all that kind of stuff. That was just going to be too exhausting. So I wanted to return to my parents' home by, just showing up at their front door and, getting off my bike and then sleeping on their front porch and then being like, hey, I'm back. Shout out to them, my parents too, by the way. But fate had other plans. So, I've basically, I kind of have characterized what has happened in the last 3-ish months of my life as like basically putting forth maybe about 20% of the total possible effort that I could to, look for jobs. And I didn't want to get burnt out looking for new work because, there's a part of me that is like, Well, I guess I'm kind of hedging my bets, you know, like I look at the technological landscape with AI and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, man, I really, again, I feel like I can almost pride myself in the idea that I've never really been conspiratorial. I've always heard people talk about things that seem a little too fanciful and just kind of written them off as like, well, I mean, I understand why that's like an intriguing thought, but the math doesn't really math for like me starting to believe that like Atlantis is a thing or that the moon landing was a hoax, you know, so on and so forth. I mean, I'm not to say that those things aren't true, but for whatever reason, it doesn't resonate with me. I don't buy into that easily because it's just like, well, this just sounds like things that could be cool, but maybe don't have a lot of evidence. And so, for me, with AI, I do think that something could really be on the horizon that would be very, very different than anything that I've ever experienced in my life, and it could have repercussions and reverberations that hit like every important part of humanity, you know, including job markets, obviously. God, I just realized how nice it is too that there are no mosquitoes. So hey, this campsite keeps getting better and better. I'm actually, if I can paint a picture quickly before I go back to my AI rant, of which I'm sure there will be many more. I am like right off of this main road, and this is what I was aiming for all day. There was some thought in my mind that I would continue on past this point. I'm very glad to say that I decided not to do that. But it's like, you know, it's a trail that would be used for like side by sides and dirt bikes and stuff like that. And it's right off the road. It's a gravel road. And I came up it hoping very much so because I didn't realize I didn't do any real preparation for anything that I did today, aside from purely making the route and then, you know, starting to walk it. I find that there's too many details to keep in mind. And so it would be hard for me to know, like, if I was seeing that there was like going to be a lot of climbing today, which there was a considerable amount. I wouldn't be able to like remember that that happens at like mile 7 and mile 13 or something like that. I'd rather just experience it, you know, because it kind of takes the fun out of it too if you know exactly what you're about to come up against. In fact, very recently on my bike computer, there's a feature that will color in the lines that you're following in order to indicate that like a steep climb is approaching and how far you are into that climb. And I turned that off because I was just like, man, I don't want to know. Like, it's taken all the fun out of it, you know? This is supposed to be like about the experience of doing it, and anything that I can do to look at my bike computer less is always a good thing. Anyway, yeah, so I'm up here, and there are 2 chairs that someone put out. It's a nice little spot. There's like a little fire pit like thing. There's a tree down that blocks the road, so like no one can use this area. I probably should be looking out for widowmakers as well. But yeah, all that just to say, back to the AI stuff. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit more on rails. Pretend that I'm giving a speech or a sermon or something. But yeah, like, you know, I didn't really want to look too hard into jobs because, again, I feel like that's a recipe for burnout, which is also a convenient excuse for not doing it very much. I think I probably applied to 20 or 25 places in 3 months, so you can do the math. What's that, like one every... I feel like I almost had the math there. If there were, let's say, I don't know. You can do the math, like I said. But yeah, so, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do feel like AI could be something that is not conspiratorial. I feel like it has a real world reality to it. And, you know, with the recent news that Anthropic pulled out of being the contractor for governmental AI, that's just an interesting change of events because, you know, one of the things that I learned about during the time that I was off of my bike and staying with my parents, shout out to my parents, was that, hypothetically, one of the things that could happen first with AI becoming like a really big thing beyond what it already is, would be that like some sort of discovery would be made, like they figure out how to cure diseases or make new material sciences or create free energy, something. This doesn't really matter, something like that. And then the government would nationalize the AI so that like it's a matter of national security that this AI is actually controlled by the government, because it's like of national interest that it be kind of housed and regulated in that way. And I just wonder if Anthropic, this situation, is like the beginning of that. We won't really know until the future. So who knows? Doesn't really matter. But yeah, I guess that's a little warm up to the day that I had, which was quite a day. I woke up. I had already kind of gotten all of my stuff in order to exit my parents' house without leaving much of a footprint. My parents have often complimented me that I'm a good guest because I don't leave any kind of indication that I am like also occupying their space. And I certainly try to do that as conscientiously as I can, and I try to be useful. As someone who really didn't have any income almost at all for the last 3 months. Well, to be fair, even more than that. I have kind of decided that at a minimum, my currency is my utility, and so I tried to be useful when at all possible. And so this morning, I kind of packed up all of my things and put them in this little storage area where all the rest of my things live. And then, as per usual, as we have done as a family since I returned back in November to their home, we went to church, and it was a good sermon. I enjoyed it. Even got some shout outs myself, wow, pot calling the kettle black there. The preacher was kind enough to talk about the new, I guess, endurance project that I had for myself, which I'm currently in the midst of, again, warming up to. My feet hurt a lot, y'all, which is what I hoped for. And yeah, the sermon, broadly speaking, was about like the Good Samaritan story, which is one that I've always liked. It was something when I was a child that was like made real for me by my mom, and I think definitely was something that ended up eventually leading me to have the type of relationship that I generally do with homeless people, which is one of as much generosity and compassion as I can muster at any given time. I don't always have the ability to go out of my way to help a homeless person, but when I get the inclination to do so, and I have the means, I typically say yes to that voice, because there's this other voice inside of me that always asks, like, one, have you ever regretted not being generous? And the answer is no, sorry. Have you ever regretted being generous? And the answer is no. And then the second question is, have you ever regretted not being generous? And the answer is yes. So anytime I feel the instinct to be generous, I try to listen to that voice and do that thing. My mom and I, when I was younger, there was a homeless man outside of a McDonald's, and my mom bought him a meal that we were able to give to him. And so I saw that story work in real life. And then this morning, that was sort of the message for the congregation, and at some point the preacher had a line that really kind of stuck with me, but then also something that I felt like needed an addition. He said, don't try to be the hero of the story. And I don't really remember the exact context. It's online, so I can find out for sure. But I was like, I like that. Like, I feel like that's good for me to hear something like that, because obviously, as someone who talks to myself a lot into a recorder, I kind of do view myself as the hero of my own story, out of necessity, if nothing else. And yeah, don't be the hero, be the helper, is the thing that I kind of added onto it, because I felt like it was kind of a dangling Chad, if you know what I'm saying. It just needed a little something to button it up, and especially in conjunction and in light of the Good Samaritan story, I was like, that seems like the natural punctuation for that kind of a sentiment. So church was great. Spoke with several kind people who might even be listening now. Sorry that I buried all your shout outs to this moment, but yes, another shout out to the Raven Gap Presbyterian Church folks, of whom I spoke with, or to whom, of whom, by whomst, that I spoke with earlier today. I appreciated all of that. I was kind of buzzing on caffeine, so I felt like I was a little bit floaty, something like that. But it was kind, and it was nice, and it was a bunch of like very generous well wishes. I kind of was like, dang, I've gone on so many trips like this. Kind of wish I'd gotten something like this earlier, just because it would have been much more centering. It's kind of like, well, it's not exactly like this, but in this moment, it makes me think about there's Ben Folds lyric where he's talking about how, like, now that he's famous, everyone like will buy his coffee or like buy him a meal or something like that, but he doesn't actually need them to do that because he has plenty of money, and he wishes that they had done that before he got famous, when he actually needed someone to step in and, you know, give him some validation of some sort. But hey, I'll take validation. I'll take it all day, y'all. So came back from church, made breakfast for my folks, had a nice little chill time there. Speaking of chill times, too, I'm going to need to put on a jacket here soon. Had a nice little chill time, and then I hit the road at noon on the dot, y'all. Noon on the dot. And I had a general plan, walking to basically stop every 5 miles at a maximum in order to take my backpack off and like take a little break to make sure that my legs weren't, you know, suffering too much. I'm certainly the kind of person, this is like a, what would you call this? A double-edged sword. Like I'm certainly no stranger to pushing through pain and discomfort, but especially with this kind of specific pain and discomfort of like walking, especially walking on pavement with relatively new shoes that are kind of an unknown quantity. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be doing some irreparable damage. And by irreparable, I just mean like if I got like a really bad blister on my foot because I was being, what's the word? Pig-headed is the word I'm thinking of. Stubborn. If I injured myself because I was being stubborn on the first day, that could really bode not well for the rest of this trip. But yeah, I headed out at noon, and I guess I should say, even though I should have already said this, I'm struggling, y'all. I'm walking to the beginning of the Appalachian Trail from Clayton, Georgia, basically. So I have like a nice little 75-mile, now I guess it's only 55-mile walk to Amicalola from my parents' house. And yeah, today was good work. Nearly 20 miles. I'd be curious to see what the elevation profile was. It didn't seem too severe, but I certainly climbed a couple of hills that were noteworthy. Also had a lot of dog experiences. There was like a pack of dogs at one point, most of whom were much too old to be any kind of real threat. And so it was kind of laughable, especially because the ringleader of the dog group was like this really small, old, like, I don't know what kind of dog it was. It looked like a pug, but like a chihuahua at the same time. It was pretty ugly, but like a cute kind of ugly, just like a pug or a chihuahua. And yeah, he was giving me a hard time. He was the one who kept following me the longest, and I was just like, dude, stop. Like, this is so performative. Like, you're embarrassing yourself. Go back to your homies and just tell a story about how you vanquished me, but don't actually try, because come on. You weigh like 7 pounds. And that's the thing about dogs, you know, it's like, with the exception of some dogs, 2 of whom I met later, most dogs are, you know, roughly speaking, like on average, let's say like 40 or 50 pounds, you know. And so basically, even though a dog obviously could really inflict some pretty serious damage because of their sharp teeth and strong jaws, basically what you're looking at is like a very dexterous and flexible 8-year-old quadruped, you know. Like, if an 8-year-old child was like chasing you and screaming at you, it wouldn't be scary. And that's the general mindset that I have adopted with dogs. And it has worked. Like, I don't know if they can sense that I'm not actually scared of them or what the situation is, but I've never actually been. I should knock on some wood. Let me touch this weird woven chair. I've never actually been attacked by a dog, and I have always put up a very real, like, aggressive aggressive from a distance kind of front to the dogs. Like, I usually will, if they're really being aggressive, like, as soon as I see them running after me, if it's the right kind of, like, I guess, like, line of sight distance, I will actually start to run towards them, because I'm just like, dude, like, I have a very strict policy that dogs are not allowed to chase me. Like, I will not tolerate a dog chasing me, whether it's on my bike or whether I'm on foot. And so far, it has been very effective. I do have pepper spray, and I do have my, trekking poles, so I'm not completely, defenseless or anything like that if things really got hairy or furry. But, generally speaking, I'm just like, you are not allowed to do this to me. Like, and I also want to set an example for other people who might come after me that, like, this behavior is completely unacceptable, And so at a certain point today, there were also two German Shepherds that came out, and those are formidable. They have a very, like, much more scary and demanding bark, obviously. But these two dogs, I don't really know. They seemed more curious. That's another thing about dogs. It's just like there's a difference that you can tell kind of in the moment. It's definitely a primal kind of thing where, like, if a dog is actually about to hurt you, I think that I would know that in the moment, and my tactics might severely change. I might grasp for my pepper spray a little bit quicker and have that as, like, a initial defense instead of it being sort of like a secondary or auxiliary thing. But those two dogs, these two German Shepherds, that was certainly a little bit more touch and go, because they got a lot closer to me and they seemed a lot more upset about me being there. But again, I'm just like, this is not allowed. You're not allowed to control me. You're not allowed to be my chauffeur. I don't need someone to guide me through this walk, especially when the dogs don't even have any idea of what I'm actually doing. Anyway, that's my dog philosophy, and I'm sticking to it. So, yeah, I took a nice little break at Henri's. Shout out to Henri's, which is a nice little restaurant in Clayton. And I was able to fill my water bottles, which was a strategic victory. I was very pleased to see that they had a water fountain, because I did not remember that they did. And then I took another break at a church called Faith, I think. It was a Baptist church. And that place was great. They had picnic tables. They had water, which I didn't actually drink any of because I was a little bit too nervous. I'm not feral yet. And then they had electricity, which was awesome. So I had a little cup of coffee. I ate two peanut butter wraps, which were good enough. And then hung out there for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. Also had service, which was nice. Although I have been enjoying so far the lack of service in this general area. And then I pressed on. And then I had one more stop at another church. I don't remember what that one was called. Rock Grove, I think. Yes. And this was nice. One of my favorite things about, like, small town America is that, what is it? My friend Ben, shout out to Ben, he's used this, high trust community. Small town America, in my experience, they are high trust communities, and I appreciate that. And along with the fact that, like, McDonald's and Starbucks are, like, my litmus test for what the surrounding area is like, based on whether or not their bathrooms are coded and whether or not you can get water at your own water at your own leisure or whatever, like with the soda machines, if they have the fountain machines accessible to the public, or if you have to ask for them to fill up your drinks. Like, you might recall, I talked about all that stuff on the bike, the bike ride, just talking about how I grade different areas based on the availability of water and bathrooms and electricity. But the Rock Grove Church, when I got to it was open. The doors were open, which I was just like, oh, this is nice. Like, it's nice to be in a place where, like, they don't lock doors because there's no need. And it feels like a very delicate thing to encounter in the world that we all live in these days, it's like I would never want to actually disturb the trust that these people have, that is reflected in by the fact that they don't lock their doors. But I did go in and got some water, and also just kind of had a little bit of a sit session just to make sure all my legs and feet were good, all both of them. And it seemed like all was well, you know. But yeah, that was my last stop. And then, as fate would have it, you guys know where this is going. Shout out to my parents. They went to a restaurant this evening that was actually out in this general area. And so I actually ran into them about, I don't know, maybe what time is it? 7:25? I guess maybe about an hour and a half ago. So I got to see my folks again, which was cool. They graciously gave me a bottle of water, which was great because I felt like I was generally a little dehydrated today. I wanted to err on the side of like carrying more water than I needed and also not drinking it unless I really, really needed to. So, yeah, I still drank like over maybe 2.5 liters. So, you know, we're getting closer to half gallon range, a little bit over half gallon. So I've had plenty, and all this is perfectly well and good. You know, this is just like, par for the course, I suppose. And I'm enjoying a, carbonated fermented recovery beverage. I feel like maybe there's a bug on me. I think it just fell off of my water or my beer. Ooh, a spider. All right, you can get off my leg now. Thank you. And yeah, my dude, it was definitely a day. I have lamented to myself privately that I really have not done anything to prepare for this excursion physically. Like, you know, I went for quite a few walks for sure around the Clayton area, and there was even a period of time where I was carrying a loaded backpack with anywhere from like 20 to 25 pounds at a time. But I really transitioned back to biking just because now that I'm a little bit older and I don't know, the quality of the time that I want to spend with people when I'm actually with them, that is now like my larger priority. When I was younger, I think I probably would have gone for long bike rides every single day if I was at my parents' house for 3 months while transitioning from, you know, the cross-country bike ride to whatever comes next. And by long, I just mean like maybe at a minimum like 40 miles maybe. But, you know, that kind of I have come to find in my aging. It just kind of has diminished returns, you know. Like I certainly have kept myself fit, and I certainly have been biking every single day for like at least an hour. I had a pretty nice little maintenance loop that I would do that was like right at 12 miles. So I could kind of extend that to just right about that hour mark. And I just felt like that helped to keep my cardiovascular system at a high level. So I guess the issue with hiking is that like cardio is certainly a big part of it, but also a huge part of it, at least equal measure, is just the impact of actually walking. And also not just the walking, but the fact that you're adding a significant amount of weight to your body. And so this is the bedding in period for me. You know, this is like having to carry my pack, which when I left my parents' house, it was 40.3 pounds, which is not something I'm very proud of, but it was certainly a necessity for me to be able to get to this point, just because, again, I wanted to make sure I had enough water. I predicted and bought food just to make sure I would have plenty of food for this trip as well. And yeah, it was quite a day, my dude. I think I might have a couple of list notes. Do I? Probably nothing that I actually want to say. Not for any particular reason other than the fact that I just like, you know, not really feeling it. The list notes that I make. So the podcast, in case you're new, typically takes the form of a bi-part captain's log kind of style, where, as you can tell, it's a lot of rambling. But what I try to do is talk about the chronology of my day, and then also talk about any specific things that I thought about that I would have made a note for. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And this is a really great spot. Like I give it, what do I give this spot? Well, I haven't slept here yet, but at least initially, just looking at things and taking it all in, like I would say 10 out of 10. You know, it's hard to imagine something better. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I think it'll be fun, and I think it'll be like a good, solid full day. You know, today felt like a half day, even though I did freaking 20 miles, starting at noon. You know, that's kind of my style. I like my mornings. You know, I like to have like a slow, relaxed morning where I can just tend to my needfuls and not worry about trying to get going for no particular reason. Like, you know, this isn't a job per se. It does feel like work, and it does feel like important work, but I don't want to, you know, disguise it in such a way that like it's beholden to like a specific timetable or something like that, because that's not the point. And I guess I should say, talking about what the point is, like I don't really have any expectations for what the point of this hike will be. I think that's probably a good way to approach it, because I think that that's where real magic can happen, rather than going in with like, okay, I want to find the love of my life on the trail, or I want to find some unique job opportunity that would have only occurred if I hiked the trail and ran into this specific person and had these specific things happen or whatever. Like, those two things would be great, but by and large, I really don't have any idea of what will happen during this hike. As per usual, I'm not even sure it will necessarily be successful. It's a huge undertaking, and there's a lot of variables, and even having done it twice doesn't necessarily give me 100% confidence that something couldn't just come out of the woodwork and completely derail whatever my original intentions were, even if they were simply just to finish, you know. But one thing that I do like about that is that, there was some sort of a through line there. There's no expectations. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the first two times that I did it, it was kind of all about speed and distance. And at this point, I'm kind of more interested in, again, that quality time, like not necessarily spending all of my time just focused so much on actually making miles and doing them basically as quickly as I can. I think it would be nice in my, you know, advanced age to just kind of experience whatever is going to happen and not feel like the ultimate point is a speed run of the Appalachian Trail, more or less, you know. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? I'm here for it. I guess the thing that I really, if I were to say I had any expectation or deliberate kind of reason for doing this, it's just that, like, I feel like it's a, I'm trying to think how to say this correctly, because I don't want to denigrate any of the time that I could have been spending with my family, you know. But all things considered, no matter what the future holds, I think that going and doing something like this is just an objectively good use of time. You know, like I don't really have many regrets in my life, thankfully. I've tried to apologize for the things that I've done poorly, and I've tried to make myself better thereafter. And, you know, I think that failure is better than success because you get more data from it. At least you can dissect failure in a way that I think success is a little bit more elusive. Like, you know, how do you know the reasons why things were successful? Like, how much was it your skill versus luck? When you fail, it seems like it's a little bit less ambiguous, because it's like, okay, well, the thing didn't work, and at some point there was like either a singular thing or a combination of things, but like, by all things considered, things didn't work out, and that was because of things that can be analyzed and learned from. So all that just to say, yeah, I guess the through line. What am I thinking about? Come on, pull it together. You only walked 20 miles. That's no excuse to be frazzled. What's my thought here? Yeah, I guess it's just that I feel like it's an objectively good thing. And so I'm doing it. I have the time, I have the resources, I have the support, and I'm just like, well, every other time I've ever been on the Appalachian Trail has been great. I've worked a lot of jobs in my life, and some of them, they were sort of like a time warp, and it just seemed like time went by so quickly, and sometimes there was not so much to show for it. But every single time I've ever been on the Appalachian Trail, it was just like there is a lot to show for it, even if it's hard to show. So here I am in this on this off-highway vehicle trail. It's very pretty out here. It was very pretty several times today. The North Georgia woods, they don't leave a lot to be desired if you're someone who's inclined to nature. And even though I joke about not liking nature, I do certainly appreciate it. I think the whole point of me having that as a joke, where I say that I don't like it, is just that I don't like the idea of having like a discrete difference between things that I think are beautiful versus things that I think are ugly. I think that there's beauty and ugliness. Yeah, there's beauty and ugliness in nature, and there's beauty and ugliness in like civilization. And I just appreciate the ability to go in and out of both, because sometimes I get fed up with one and then the other one is a respite. And then, conversely, sometimes one is the opposite, and so on and so forth, my dude. I think you get it. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting. Literally, I'm just sitting here. And the moon is rising, which is kind of cool. It looks like a pretty full moon, maybe not 100% full, but mostly full. And I know what that means. That means it's going to be hard to sleep. It's funny when you sleep outside and there's a full moon, depending on how that light is hitting you, it can actually be kind of a, what would you call that? Liability. So yeah, I might be fighting against the moon for the evening, trying to be dark enough for me to be able to sleep. But yeah, I don't really know what's going on tomorrow, as per usual. I never really do. For me, as long as I have the first day kind of mapped out in a very broad sense, that's enough for me to basically start a multiple thousand mile trek. And so I think I'm headed to Clarksville area tomorrow, and I have no idea what that'll mean for camping and all the other things, but that should be fine. I'm just trying to get a sense of where Clarksville is. Where even am I? I'm looking at a map, but I'm not... Oh, Clarksville is like way far south. Wow. I suppose that's probably correct. Gainesville. Where's Amicalola? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. And so yeah, I need to do like a lot of stuff here so I can get ready for bed. But I will leave you with an interesting tidbit that I thought was kind of cool, because a lot of people, especially at church this morning, they came up to me and said things like, I wish I could do what you're doing. I think it's really cool. Maybe they had this specific adventure in mind, or just like a general idea of like wishing that they could do something like this in a different fashion. And I always try to be supportive, and I'd be like, well, I think you probably could, you might surprise yourself with your own abilities if you apply yourself. You got to apply to surprise. That doesn't rhyme as well as I was hoping. But I was curious, on average, like, because a lot of people who have like Apple products, you can close your rings and stuff like this, stuff like that. And so I was wondering, like, okay, to close your step ring for the day, like how many steps is that, like basically on average, like that would be the number needed in order to close that ring, and I believe it was 5,000, or maybe it's more than that. Actually, I know it was like 5 miles. Is that right? Oh my God, I'm already forgetting. I wrote this down because I did the math when I was at that Grove Church thing. Okay, well, I can't really. So, yeah, I think 5 miles a day might be like what the WHO suggests that you walk in order to remain a certain type of healthy or whatever. But in any case, if you walked 5 miles a day, I was curious and were able to close your Apple Watch rings. How long would it take you to hike the Appalachian Trail? Because basically, what I'm doing out here is just like walking a bunch, but doing it in a certain direction. So if you were able to close your ring every single day and you put that into a specific velocity, and so you had speed and direction, how long would it take you to do the trail? And it would take you 440 days, which is a lot, over a year. So I just thought that was kind of interesting because, yeah, that would be a big ask. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. So 740, I should get back to my needfuls because there are many and it is dark. But this is a really good spot. I'm very appreciative and grateful for it. I think I'll sleep pretty well, and certainly I imagine I'll be undisturbed. It's a Sunday. The traffic is really low. I think I've probably seen 3 cars in 40 minutes go by. So I don't think there's going to be any yahoos coming by. Everyone's got to go to work tomorrow, so that works to my benefit. Oh, I should say I found what was it, 7 or 8 Zen canisters today, which is pretty cool. I wonder how many people in the world make it a game to find Zen canisters. I wonder. I doubt I'm the only one, but well, I'm trying to think of the kind of person. Have I ever seen any other person? I might be the only one. But yeah, finding Zen canisters and then scanning their points so that I can apply them to their rewards program and then get free stuff is a little bit of a hobby of mine. And boy, today was very fruitful. I think I probably found more canisters today than I ever have on a single day. So hey, not for nothing. I'll take that as a good omen. And with that, good omens notwithstanding, I will say love you, bye, and I will get back to you tomorrow. Pray for me and for my feet. Bye.